everyone needs to know how to make biscuits. But I promise you, they don't have to be quite as complicated as you might have seen your grandmother make. You know, with cutting in all that cold butter and whatnot. Well, I'm gonna tell you today, you can make biscuits that are fluffy with just 2 ingredients, and they're delicious. But one of the ingredients that you're gonna need is gonna be self-rising flour. And you may or may not have that on hand. So stick around, I'm gonna tell you just what you need to do in that situation, and a couple of other delicious hacks while we're at it. Don't go away. Before I make this as simple as it's going to be, which will amaze you, I have to start back at how complicated often we have made it. First of all, let me say there are a myriad of flours to choose from on the store shelf. Here in my hand, I'm holding sprouted wheat flour, 100% whole grain sprouted wheat flour. And then there's just regular whole wheat flour. So there is a difference. There's also dark rye flour and many different kinds of versions of that. There's self-rising flour. There's cake flour and better for bread flour. There's all-purpose flour. How are we supposed to know the difference? Why are they different? Why are they important for different things? And what do we need to know just to make this super simple? Well, like I said at the beginning, I want you to know how to make biscuits. So we only have to have really 1 or 2 of these kind of flours with us today. I also want to tell you, please don't deviate greatly and think, oh, I'm going to experiment on my first time out and try to make biscuits with whole wheat flour because that sounds more healthy. This is just a basic recipe. You need to know how to master it first before you get all fancy, okay? I want to encourage you to go out and buy whatever brand is your favorite, even if your grandma told you that she only uses Martha White or King Arthur or such. You use whatever brand you've got available to you and don't stress. All right, so let me set aside some of these that we don't need for this particular recipe. Just know that they're there, and you do just a little bit of research on your own about the different amount of protein in each flour. You're going to thank me later because you'll understand why when you're choosing flour for different recipes, you might need to consider, oh yeah, let's use one with a higher protein content or lower, or higher gluten or lower, or whatnot. All right, so I've cleared off all the complications for you, and I've narrowed it down to this, and this will blow your mind if you didn't know it before. All you need for fluffy, wonderful biscuits is 2 ingredients. You want some self-rising flour, any brand will do, and you need the equal amount of heavy cream. That's it, okay? Now, don't scrimp, don't say, oh, I don't have cream, so I gotta use whole milk. Don't say I'm gonna use whole flour. You have to have self-rising flour and heavy cream, and you just need equal parts. So, to break it down even simpler, for me to make 12 nice, fluffy biscuits to feed my family and my friends, all I need are 2 cups of self-rising flour and 2 cups of heavy cream. I'm going to slowly stir those together. I'm going to just barely get them incorporated, and I'm going to cut them with a biscuit cutter and put them into a 400-degree oven, and I'm going to have fluffy biscuits. Can you believe that? I'm going to show you that whole process in another episode, but I want to talk you through a little bit of something else. If you are a good PREPSTEADER, I'm saying good PREPSTEADER tongue-in-cheek a little bit. If you are somebody, though, who is very prepared, who has your plan together and your pantry together, you definitely are going to want to have a flour mill and whole wheat berries that you're going to grind yourself. Not all of us have that kind of space or time or budget for that, and so we're not quite there yet. That's okay. As a second resort, I want you to at least have regular all-purpose flour in your pantry. This is going to be the most versatile of all those flours that you just saw me mention earlier. It's going to go the furthest. It won't be perfect in every situation for the gourmet meals, but it will come so close, no one is going to care or complain. If you make pasta with this, if you bake cakes or cookies or breads or biscuits, whatever you like, you can usually get by using all-purpose flour. Now, like I just said, to make these fluffy biscuits though, we need self-rising flour. So what's the difference here, and what do we need to do to make this self-rising? Well, let me talk you through that real quick because it's very simple. In fact, in my pantry, I keep very little of self-rising flour on hand just because it does tend to expire quicker once it's self-rising flour. And so, as long as I know how to make it myself, all I need is all-purpose flour and a couple of extra ingredients. Let me show you how we make that. To make self-rising flour, when you don't have any, all you need is all-purpose flour, you can do this, and baking powder and just a pinch of salt. How easy is that? If we had only known, we wouldn't have stressed out all these years. But all-purpose flour, baking powder, and a pinch of salt. So when I'm ready to bake, for each cup, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put 1 cup of all-purpose flour in a bowl. Then I'm going to take a teaspoon and a half of baking powder and then a pinch of salt for each cup that it calls for in the recipe. If you want another secret to good biscuits, this Danish Whisk is amazing, and I want to thank Sherry Jenkins in Tennessee who sent this as a gift to PREPSTEADERS. I love it, and I use it for every single batch of biscuits. Now, this kind that I'm holding here today is double acting, great baking powder, but you actually, I would recommend, want to get the kind that does not have aluminum in it. And this one actually does have that sodium aluminum sulfate in it. I don't want that. So make sure you check on the back and get the kind of baking powder that does not have that. So 1 cup of this, a teaspoon and a half of baking powder, and then a pinch of salt for each cup that it calls for in the recipe. And you've got self-rising flour. If you are a good PREPSTEADER and have a stocked pantry as you would like, heavy cream powder is really a thing. Can you believe that? And it absolutely functions just as good as fresh heavy cream. So if you can have some of this stored in your pantry, you're going to thank yourself later. This will go a whole long ways, as I think it's something like 3/8 of a cup, which is just shy of half a cup, of this mixed with 1 cup of water, and then you let it set overnight, and by morning it's just as good as regular, fresh, heavy cream. I want to take this one step further because if you're like me, when I was starting out, I didn't have baking powder. I only had baking soda, and you can't do the same thing with both of those. But I want to tell you how to make your own baking powder. Did you know you could make your own baking powder without the aluminum? Well, let's do that right now. What you're going to want is 2 parts of cream of tartar, 1 part of baking soda, and 1 part of cornstarch. Did you know that that's what baking powder is? So I'll repeat it again. 2 parts of the cream of tartar, 1 part of baking soda, and 1 part of cornstarch. That's all. That's all you need. So whip those up together and you'll have several tablespoons of baking powder ready to be used to make that self-rising flour out of your all-purpose flour to make those scrumptious biscuits. Now, I probably oversimplified this and then overcomplicated it for you, but if you were following, I hope you learned a couple of great kitchen hacks that you can use in the event that you don't have what you need on hand right at that moment. Mostly, I hope you learn that you can make biscuits that are delicious with just those 2 ingredients, and I hope you try it, and I hope you get yourself some good homemade apple butter to smear across the top of them, and sit down with a good cup of tea and enjoy all of that difficult labor that just seemed impossible before. Now you've done it, and you can do it again when you have guests. Thank you so much for joining us. It was fun being with you today. We've got more good stuff up the way, and in future episodes we will make those biscuits together so you see firsthand how easy it is to whip that all together. But until I see you next time, go out, find somebody who needs you to be their blessing, and bless them this week. And if you think about it, take time to share this video with somebody you love. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, before you go, may I share a quick word of scripture? This is right in the very middle of your Holy Bible in the book of Psalms, and it's Psalm 37, verses 39 and 40. It says this, "The salvation of the righteous is from the Lord. He is their stronghold in the time of trouble. The Lord helps them and He delivers them. He delivers them from the wicked and He saves them because they take refuge in Him." Now go spread the word.